Alrighty, moving right along then. In the last video, we went through and gathered all of our reports and made sure to configure them in the exact way we want them to, specifically the date ranges. Make sure they all have the same date ranges to view. Now let's go into just get a cursory look or an overview on what the reports are showing us and where to find this key information. All right, here we go. Let's dive in. Right here, we're picking up right from where we left off. I'm on the full reports page, so just a reminder, we have our profit and loss or income statement, statement of cash flows, and balance sheet. Those are the three reports we're using for this FS Visual. And if we go into those, I have them opened in tabs up here, and I've already set the dates. All of that is the same. But now, let's look at the major sections from these reports that you're going to use to enter into the tool. I'm going to go ahead and blow this up a little bit. Let's just make it a little bigger to look at. And now if I'm scrolling down, there are some major sections, okay? So the profit and loss, the income statement has revenue all the way down to profit. So what are those major sections? Well, there's going to be total income, or if you're not using QuickBooks Online, the language might be a little different. It might say revenue, gross sales, something like that. Just looking for that top section of income, revenue. Then you want to have your gross profit, which is a little bit down here. You're going to have all of your cost of goods sold before that, and then that results in your gross profit. Then you have a bunch of expenses, but you're looking for net operating income. So that's found right here. Then there's an other section. There's going to be other income and other expenses. And then that leaves you with your bottom line profit, your net income. So on this report, it's actually kind of handy. If you click this collapse button, this little arrow here, it kind of shows, it gets rid of a bunch of stuff, and it leaves you largely with the major categories. So there's a really condensed view of your report. It's not looking at specific categories or accounts. It's leaving you with the major sections that we're going to pick out some of these. So from here, we can see the income, and then we want the gross profit, net operating income, and net income. All right, and that's the language you're going to see on the tool. Again, if your accounting software is different than QuickBooks Online, the language might be different. Just look for something close, and you're looking for the profit levels, okay? The kind of the positive balances left after certain activity. So that's the income statement. Okay, let's move on to the statement of cash flows. Again, I have my dates all set, and looks like I'm still zoomed in a little bit, little blown up here. And here, again, major sections, okay? There's operating, there's investing, and there's financing. And then there's a summary at the bottom. But again, if I take and collapse some of these, it makes it easier to look at so we know what we're pulling out from the reports to put on the visuals. So I'm going to collapse this one here actually. See, I want to have, for operations, I want to have net income still listed, but then I'm looking for net cash provided by the various activities. Okay, so here's for operating. I got that right there. Let me go ahead and collapse this one and this one. And so I can see my investing activities is right there, and my financing activities is right there. So I'm using these numbers to enter in, as well as the beginning cash. However, my report does not say beginning cash because I started, this is a company that started in this year. So beginning cash was 0. So if yours doesn't say beginning cash, assume 0 and enter that. Okay, so once you have this and have pulled the information from your statement of cash flows and entered it into the visual tool, let's move on over to the balance sheet. And here, same deal, my dates are all set up. I am zoomed in still. So the balance sheet is split up between your assets, liabilities, and equity, of course, but even within those, specifically the assets and liabilities, you can kind of look at it in short term and long term. There's current assets and current liabilities, and then there's more long-term stuff on both the assets and the liabilities. So I actually want to see current assets, so let me collapse right here. So assets, overall, I have current and fixed, the short-term, long-term. Same thing with liabilities. Let me collapse the current liabilities and the long-term liabilities. So liabilities also has short-term and long-term. And then the equity, I could collapse that whole thing. So right there is my equity. All right, so that is an overview of the major sections that you're going to use to pull from your reports to enter into the visual tool so that it can populate and you can see your financials like never before.